This is the Cricket Matters podcast. If you're new to the show, it's great to have you here. Please make sure to subscribe and review. That way we can reach more and more people and push Cricket Matters podcast up the charts. Last time we checked, we were about 7th, weren't we, James?
I think we're still in the top 10. We're still in the top 10
Excellent.
consistently.
Excellent. Yeah. Even though we haven't recorded a Cricket Matters podcast for a little bit, we're doing okay. Before we talk about cricket, though, let's briefly talk about football. As an Evertonian here and a Man United fan on your side, we both enjoyed Liverpool's game against Real Madrid last night.
It was brilliant, wasn't it? On so many different levels. Like, I was like, oh no, I put it on when they were 2-0 up, and then I just started laughing and smiling, and just, it was great to see Real Madrid back playing well, wasn't it? Really, in all fairness.
It was, yeah, really good.
Yeah. I'll leave with that, and not saying that I don't like watching Liverpool.
We're not saying
lose.
anything about Liverpool, we just enjoyed Real Madrid's performance.
Exactly.
That's all. It was good.
Exactly. But speaking about performance, it's all about hitting bigger cricket today, isn't it?
It is. It is indeed. You've unshared your screen, so I can't see your notes now, but thanks for that.
Oh, you're welcome.
So, yeah, we are talking about hitting big, strength training and power for cricketers. And people probably think we're going to be talking about a lot of, barbell back squats and Olympic lifts and thanks for sharing that. That's nice. Olympic lifts and all that stuff. But we kind of need to start. We'll start with the much more basics than that, which is mobility.
Yeah, it is.
Grip,
it's so boring.
Abs, glutes, and mobility.
Exactly. Let's start with the basics, and people skip them. People always skip the basics.
Yeah.
However, the phrase I want you to get into your head is power lives in the transverse plane. That means rotational power and rotational strength. Mm-hmm. Okay, in very simple layman's terms. And if you don't own rotation, and if you try and load weight onto rotation, everything's going to break down. It's like building a foundation of a house on sand or quicksand.
Yep.
It's
all going to fall down. You're going to go pop.
Pretty much. We see it time and time again. And they wonder, they're doing a lot of cricketers are spending a lot of time in the weight room trying to get stronger, but they're actually not getting anywhere. In fact, they're getting slower and weaker in terms of cricket playing. They focus on the beach muscles, let's put it that way. So again, what I'm seeing a lot of the time, a lot of the young cricketers are going to the gym, they're focusing on training on body parts like a bodybuilder, whereas they need to train strength from top to toe and integrated strength as best as possible, because hitting a cricket ball out the park is not just about how hard you swing your arms, it's about how you use the power from your feet through the trunk, the core, the hips, and then extend the arms after that as well. And that's what they've got to think about. So stop training body parts, cricketers. Start thinking in terms of human movements and train total body strength. Okay, and we'll talk about some of the ideas in a second. But you've got to understand this. We will get to the strength, I promise you. However, if you have tight ankles, if you have tight hips, if you have a tight thoracic spine, your T-spine, the middle of your back, right, and tight shoulders, you are not going to be able to rotate efficiently. Now, throw another layer of complexity onto that, and if you can't breathe properly with your diaphragm, you definitely won't be able to rotate. But we'll save that for another episode, because I'll probably lose you if I go down the rabbit hole of breathing right here today. But the point is, if you can't move well, right, you've got to be able to do this. Now, what do I mean by that? I'll give an example. If you have tight shoulders, I think it's probably a good example. Let's use the best in the game at the moment is Joss Buttler. Joss Buttler is fantastic. His power to weight ratio is phenomenal. He hits the ball so hard and clean out the park. He's so fast. He's so agile. He's my cricket crush. How about that? Let's just put it out there, right?
Yeah.
But watch what he does, and he talks about in several YouTube videos how he relaxes his front left shoulder. He gives it a shake as they're coming into bowl to relax the tension off here. So he's relaxed at the point of impact, so he can get fast hands through and hit the ball fast, right? Most cricketers can't relax that front shoulder because it's so tight. So at home, very quickly, take your left shoulder if you're right-handed batsman, right shoulder if you're left-handed, and bring your shoulder up as close as you can to your ear, and try and swing a cricket bat. Try and swing a cricket bat like to cow corner or like to rotate. It's so hard. You're so tense, and there's so much tension in that shoulder. It's going to limit your power. Now, that's an extreme example, but most cricketers struggle with that movement in the first place. So release your shoulders, and instantly you'll start to be able to hit the ball cleaner and more efficiently, because it's more about efficiency just as much as power.
Yeah, but no doubt Josh Butler also has great thoracic mobility, great hip mobility, probably good ankle mobility all the way down the chain. Because that's where you got to look. And also, we will come on to this later in the podcast. It's all about that relaxation and tension and being able to switch between the two really quickly, which is incredibly important for developing power. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. But yeah, back to mobility. If you address those issues first, then, without doing any strength training at all, you're automatically, one, you're going to improve your technique because you can move better. You're going to automatically hit it harder without doing any training. Aren't we? We're magicians.
Magicians, exactly. No, it is. It's so like wizards, as we've been discussing all morning. But it's so true. It's the efficiency. So movement efficiency is imperative to technique when it comes to running. So if you're moving more efficiently, you're going to hit harder, but also you're going to run smoother, recover better, and release the handbrake essentially from what you're doing with your body. So I'm not going to kick the can down the road too far on this because we can save these for separate episodes because this is all about strength training.
We should do a full episode on this stuff.
Yeah, but we're going to just bear this in mind. Like if you don't want to load weight onto dysfunction, and if you're not rotating in those areas and moving well in those areas, you're just loading weight onto dysfunction. All your strength training work in the gym is going to make you slower and less efficient and less powerful than what you think. So just heed our advice, heed our warning, and learn from our mistakes over the years.
Yeah, and go and do some mobility. Once you've done that, once you've got all that down, strength-wise, grip abs and glutes. That's what we look at in terms of principles of training. Do you want to talk about why that is?
Yeah, basically the secret to getting stronger is mastering the strength of your glutes, the strength of your grip, and strengthening the your core, because that's where power comes from. That's where your strength comes from. The core is like what we call zone 1, and everything emanates out from that.
Yeah. So when we say abs, that's a point of distinction. When we say abs, we're not just talking about your six pack at the front. We're talking about your whole
trunk.
core, your whole trunk, essentially.
Front and back, sides, everything. That's where it comes from. So you don't own this, you're not going to own anything else, particularly in the transverse plane, which we'll get to in a second. So, you've got to, and most people when we test these areas, they're deficient in both. At least two, mostly all three. Very rarely do we see just someone being really strong in one area. But we've got to look at these areas because that's the thing. So the 3 tests we do, very simply, go and hang from a bar for 60 seconds. If you can do it, yes or no, it means, yes, you've got enough grip strength. It's not the best test we do. There's another layers to this further up the chain in our system, but that's a basic test. And if you can't hang from a bar for 60 seconds, then you probably aren't strong enough with your grip. That's a starting point. Can you hold a 2-minute plank? Yes or no? It's a standard test. Straight arm plank, can you hold it? And not be shaking at the end of 2 minutes like a leaf. We want to make sure that you're holding it super efficiently throughout the entire time. And then the third thing is like a simple glute bridge. Lie on the floor, bend your knees, lift your hips up as high as you can, so you have a straight line between knees and your shoulders, no sagging in the middle, and see if you can hold that for 2 minutes too. Again, it's harder than you think.
Yeah, what people may find in doing the glute bridge is they might get some hamstring cramping because the hamstrings are taking over from the glutes, because your glutes are asleep at the wheel, essentially, because we all sit a lot. The old gluteus maximus goes asleep, so your hamstrings take over for your body to develop that stability, which is lacking in the glute. So that's why you're getting some hamstring cramping. So you really need to work on waking up the old backside.
Exactly. And I think a lot of cricketers have tight hamstrings, but I promise you the hamstrings are tight because of other areas.
For a reason. They're tight for a reason,
They're getting the stability they need because the core and the glutes aren't working in conjunction together. Nothing, the system's not working together. That's the thing that
people probably, most people out there, they don't think about. It's like, my hamstrings are tight, I better stretch them. Well, in most cases, not all cases, in a lot of cases, that ain't going to do anything, because they're just going to, you might release them a little bit, they might feel better briefly, but then your body is craving that stability, so it's just going to tighten them up again because it's protecting you. It's doing it for a reason.
Yeah,
they're not tight for no reason. So you got to look in other places.
Exactly.
And those are grip abs and glutes.
Yep, that's exactly the first 3 tests, simple tests, but they tell us a lot about you. And we take them tests to the next level when we go further up the chain, but that's too complicated on the thing. Download our free book, the the High Performance Handbook for Cricketers to give an idea of the system. That's the easiest way to learn more about what we're doing. Cricketmatters.com if you need to go there. But that's a starting point. Like, that's our basic strength level tests. Now, when we go from those testing levels, so we have good movement, we have good strength basics, right? We then go about teaching principles. And I want you to think about yourselves as cricketers and batsmen who are trying to hit the ball out of the park as professional boxers. I think that's a really good analogy to use right now. A boxer, if he's stiff and tense for the entire fight, he will gas out within the first round or two, right? They are masters of relaxation and tension. Relaxation, where they're nice and loosey-goosey, bouncing around the ring, ducking and weaving, moving out the way. But at the point of impact, look how ripped their bodies are at the point of impact when their fist smacks into their face, that other guy's face, right? Like, it's a full expression of maximal tension, that knockout punch. They've gone from fast and loose to that literally, boom, power knockout blow, which is similar to batting in cricket. You want to be nice and relaxed, right? And at the point of impact is where you maximize timing into tension to get the ball out the park, right? Yeah. Fast hands, nice and loose, to getting the ball hit out the park. And the only way to train that is by training those principles, right? So when we come back to strength training for us, it's all about principles. I don't care what implement you use, right? Whether it's body weight, kettlebell, dumbbell, or barbell. The principles of tension is what I feel that cricketers do not understand and have an appreciation of, that'll have a carryover to their cricket game. And particularly hitting the ball harder, even bowling faster. So you've got to talk a little bit about that. And what do I mean by that is, is your body mechanics well, right? Do you control breathing and intra-abdominal pressure, as we call it, when you're doing a push-up, when you're holding a plank? It's the 2-minute plank test is a basic test of muscular endurance. But when we're teaching the plank, if you can do it really well, the plank will always get harder because we're trying to teach you maximum tension. Try going into a straight arm plank, tensing every single body up, as part of your body up as tight as you can, and see how long you can hold it. Yeah. If you can hold it for more than 10, 15 seconds, you're not strong enough because you're not understanding that principles of tension. And it comes back to boxing and the Bruce Lee analogy of that 1-inch punch, right? That is what you want to try and become, that 1-inch punch guy with cricket.
And if people want to know, look at that on the interweb, look up the hard style plank. Shows a great relationship between tension and relaxation. If you do a hard style plank properly, 10, 15 seconds, and then you shouldn't be able to hold it for any longer than that because you can generate, as James says, full body tension. And it's about mastering that art of tension relaxation.
It is, and it's not just a sense of power, it's a sense of safety as well. So one of my biggest bugbears, and again, I've seen it on some of the professionals posting videos recently, is like a lot of cricketers are going to the gym using barbells and putting a weightlifting belt around their waist, right? Well, weightlifting belts are there for a reason. I argue for the highest levels of elite powerlifters, right?
Yeah, when you're lifting a hell of a lot, you've got to have that because you're never going to be able to generate the tension needed to keep yourself together without your back exploding. So
exactly, if you look at they wear special suits. A lot of them powerlifters. They wear the weightlifting belts for Olympic lifters too. It's such an important thing at that level. But the weights.
Slight aside, if people ever watched people lifting, I'm talking incredibly heavy here, when they get like nosebleeds and stuff, that is how much tension they're putting through their body. They're like, their eyes start to bleed.
Exactly.
Sometimes they're sick. Honestly, that's the kind of tension we're talking about here. So if you're not lifting anywhere near that, you shouldn't be needing weight belts.
Exactly, and that's the thing. But the thing is, though, as cricketers, we're not going to that elite levels of strength because that's going to make us slower in the field. Yeah. But what those guys do that you don't know about is they have the mastery of tension, right? To be able to generate that safety belt first before their weight belt even comes on. So when I see cricketers with a barbell on their back who don't have the mobility in their ankles, hips, and thoracic spine, right? Who arch their backs and they're putting a weightlifting belt onto it, it just exacerbates what's the problems are going to happen already. It's going to lead to injury faster, right? And it's not helping you; it's actually hindering you.
Yeah, and as you say, they're just loading dysfunction.
Exactly, and we've got to avoid that. If you want to hit the ball harder, you've got to avoid this type of training. So, barbells, what we call the end of the extreme. This is why I'm very reserved in the use of them when it comes to cricketers, because cricketers already put their body through a lot of stuff. The forces they generate, the miles in their legs, we don't need to load that much weight and tension onto them. So when it comes to principles, we tend to go in this order: master body weight, then we master kettlebells and dumbbells and the practice of tension. Most people will live in this world, and particularly cricketers, for the rest of their life, because that's all you need without being beaten up. And then we can explore the worlds of barbells at a later date. All right? Now, when we're doing this progression, we're teaching you principles like mastery of tension, the breathing side of things. What people don't realize is that, let's just take a deadlift. How many people out there thinking about breathing and creating intra-abdominal pressure to lift heavy, maximizing tension as you're doing it? So to maximize and practice tension, you've got to repeat it time and time again till it's second nature, okay? And this is when, in terms of strength training, we use the kettlebell a lot. There's a reason for the kettlebell and using what we call kettlebell swings a lot, because that's teaching people the principles of relaxation and tension. And think of that in cricket. You're practicing on the downswing, right? For kettlebells, it's quite relaxed. On the upswing, you're trying to maximize full tension and creating an intra-abdominal pressure. Now, it's quite difficult on a podcast to explain all this.
Well, the top of, just bear this in mind, the top of a swing is a standing plank.
Yes.
Essentially. Top of a swing is a standing plank for a second or so. Relax. Plank. Relax. That's and you repeat and repeat and repeat.
Exactly. And then again, let's talk about the use of kettlebells in general. So a lot of people say, I don't use kettlebells because it hurts my back. No, you just don't know how to use the kettlebells
The way
correctly.
you use kettlebells hurts your back.
And I'd say 80-90% of people don't understand this. And what that means to me as well is if you don't understand the principles of kettlebell training and it hurts your back, it means if you're going to deadlifts, you definitely don't understand the principles of weightlifting and applying it. Now, in terms of kettlebells as well, we have helped how many people, Josh, increase their vertical jump and be more explosive using kettlebells without doing it here. Yeah. We also increase people's deadlifts considerably without going anywhere near a barbell, right? Because the forces you can generate are substantial. Like the optimal weight for a cricketer is a third of body weight if we're doing like explosive work, explosive swings, explosive jerks, for example, with a kettlebell, because that's been shown on research and data plates to see that happens. So, I'm going on a tangent here massively. You have to help me come back on track. But we want to master this idea of power in the transverse plane. And you can't really train rotational forces with a barbell, if we're being honest. And we need to master this idea of top-to-toe strength. And this is why you need to go back to using kettlebells and dumbbells to begin with to start this basic mastery progression we're trying to have for you.
Yeah. Well, if you're mastering power in the transverse plane, really what you're looking at is anti-rotation.
Yes.
Rather than rotation in terms of having great mobility, but in terms of the strength portion, you're looking at anti-rotation. Do you want to talk about? We've got get-ups, we've got all sorts. We want to talk about the tall kneeling press, which is a great anti-rotational exercise.
Your tall kneeling press. There's loads of things. I think we've also got to get across to people is like stop training in body parts. Like stop training. We have what we call the 7 human movements, which is locomotion. Just move when you're doing things. Push, pull, hinge, squat, rotate, anti-rotate. Those are the 7 human movements we have, right? And when you're doing a workout, you've got to try and incorporate all of these ideas. The Turkish get-up covers everything. Yep. Right?
It's a golden move, as we would say.
It is a golden move. It is probably the most important exercise I'd suggest all cricketers do and learn how to do. Now, there's a skill level to this, and it's going to take some time to progress with it. But it's teaching you top-to-toe strength and integrating every part of your body to make it done well, basically.
Get great for shoulder strength and stability as well.
Yeah,
really good for shoulders
and mobility. For example, like I think Greg, if he's listened to the podcast, Greg, who's Cardiff, captain at Cardiff CC, like he's learning this very quickly. How hard the kettlebells can be in terms of Turkish get-ups, but. If you want to think about terms of what you should be able to do, you should be able to do 5 reps, right, unbroken each side with a Turkish get-up with 24 kilo for men and 12 to 16 kilo for women, depending on your weight, if you're under 60 kilos or over 60 kilos in weight. So it gives you an idea of how strong we want to get you in these movements first. before we go into anything else, because we're mastering that total body tension and strength.
Absolutely. Do you want to mention the crazy get up test, or should we leave that for another podcast?
Oh, we'll bring it up here now. So the crazy get up test, which
people
is,
are going to think we're mental here.
Yeah, they are, but it's a test of mental resilience as much as anything, and
Yeah.
movement efficiency under load and work capacity.
Strength,
So-
endurance, muscular endurance.
and
There's
we
so
have
much
it.
going on. Yeah.
So we have what we call the Turkish get up test. It's a 16-minute test, a 1-hour test, where you have to do the get up as many times as you can with your prescribed weight. For men, it's 24 kilos approximately. It depends on your weight, but 24 to 28 kilos. And for women, it's between 12 and 16 kilos. The standard is, can you do 100 reps? The record is 160, right?
Which
Just
is-
to give you an idea.
Which is crazy. But by the way, before you do think we are crazy, we work people up to that. We don't just say, go do a 60-minute get-up test. The people who get that test are very much ready for it, and they've done a hell of a lot of work to get there.
Exactly. So we go back to the secret of strength and to hit harder. But I'd say that the 3 things you got to work on is your body weight tension for push-ups and plank. Okay, that's a starting point. You've then got to master the idea of the Turkish get-up. Okay, and like total body tension and strength, and then we can progress into the world of kettlebell swings, which carry over to deadlifts and things like that. This is the starting point. It's just, there's multiple ways to skin a cat, but we're looking at these things first. Now, the kettlebell swing done well with good technique, right, is all about fast and loose, relaxation and tension, and like you said, a standing plank done well. And you can do so many repetitions of it. Like you can do 100, 200 swings in a session. You're not going to lift a barbell 200 times in a session, but you can do with a kettlebell.
Yeah.
And then, that's with 2-hand swings, 1-hand swings. You're then starting to work on the obliques and what we call anti-rotation, which is the secret to transverse plane power, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
That's what we want to have. We want to have strong obliques, right? Because they all, everything, like, external obliques are the rotators to allow you to go fast. You have them really strong and mobile. We need to have that in place. So that's why we love single arm swings for cricketers and fairly heavy, like a third body weight, doing so for multiple reps, mastering tension. And it's like that hip drive. When you have that hip drive with a kettlebell swing done well, the spell float at the top. It's like a punch. It's like you're training that punch, that one-arm punch, like a 1-inch punch from Bruce Lee, with that idea of tension. It's so many good things coming into this. So we do this so much.
Glute strength as well, because obviously
Grip
that's
strength
standing grip and glutes. Yeah, grip and glutes. So there's so much going on in there.
Exactly.
It's great.
It's a golden exercise. So before we even get to the barbell at the top end, we need to have thousands of repetitions. It's like going to the nets and like expecting to be like Josh Butler in the nets when it's your first net session. So when we take you down to the nets, Josh, right, you're obviously in your head going to think like you're Josh Butler, right? And you're going to try to hit the ball at the park. Yeah? But to get like him, he's taken his whole life. It's taken 20, 30 years to get to there. It's mastery. It's the same thing with these type of things and principles. So, if you want to get stronger power, I can give you a list of exercises. Right? We can give.
Well, I was going to say, we can just briefly list some off. Like I said, that the tall kneeling press is a great anti-rotation core exercise. If you want to mix some carries into there, great for grip, great for oblique strength, anti-rotation. If you master the plank, then you got to think about adding some locomotion in there, so crawling. There's all sorts of different crawling exercises you can do in there.
Carries.
And just doing those, but carries, I've already said carries.
Oh, yeah.
But just do those few things. That's a great workout right there. You don't need to do anything else.
Well, it's true. It is a great workout. But what most cricketers are going to look at is they're going to look at all the med ball throws and the rotational throws and powers. And don't get me wrong, that's a big part of it too. However, if you don't own mobility and thoracic rotation and hip mobility and ankle mobility, you're not going to be able to rotate, which means you're not going to be able to throw those things as hard as you want to. So mobility, basic levels of strength, right? And then we can start adding this speed strength type work on top of it with these med ball throws, because you do need to use these med ball throws, right? Right? Absolutely. At layer 3, when you've had the principles. And when you're not lifting barbells, because again, barbells will make you slower most of the time, right? I know that people argue that with me. However, right, if you're loading heavy weight and get heavier, it's making you slower. particularly with guys who are just training the chest and they're putting barbell, they're rounded shoulders. And most of the guys I see at club nets are having rounded shoulders, especially the young kids, because they think looks good for the beach. Yeah. But if you don't have the movement, you can't generate the power, and you can't move forward and hit the ball out of the park.
Yep, exactly. Well, as we say, and you also, you've got those rounded shoulders and you're trying to do back squats as well. The barbell ain't going to be in a good position. Maybe your squat technique at body weight might not be brilliant. You've got to look at it. You're loading the bar onto dysfunction. It's going to be terrible for your lower back. Something's going to go pop. So there's all sorts of stuff. And if research has shown that if you're not squatting at least body weight on two legs, so that's your body weight with body weight on top of that, you may as well. You're going to get more strength gains from just doing split squats with no weight at all, so just your own body weight. You're going to get stronger doing that unless you're back squatting more than your own body weight.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Exactly. And it's just another thing to think about as well. You've got to think about when you're doing strength training to hit the ball out of the park, right? You've got to think of which part of the development cycle in the year you're in. Are you pre-season, off-season, or mid-season, right? If you're mid-season, you don't want to be lifting heavyweight. Because you want to look after your body. It's maintenance, basically, and recovery most of the time, because most of us are playing 2-3 times a week. So you've got to think about that. So it's maintenance as opposed to like development. Unless you're only playing once every 3 weeks, or whatever it is, that's by the by. Off season, we can start adding more weight, and pre-season becomes example. Yeah, we can add more weight in pre-season, right, to make you a little bit slower in some respects. But then pre-season, we're getting speed on top of that. It's going back to speed strength work to develop it back up to it. So just think about those ideas. And again, go back to the barbell and squats. I promise you, if anyone's out there right now, for men, I'll challenge you this. Pick up a pair of double 32 kilo kettlebells. Tell me you can do 10 squats with them. Right? Try and do that. Base level entry for us. Same with women, pick up double 16s. Give that a go. Tell me what you feel and how you feel it. Just as a so kettlebells and dumbbells don't make you weak. I guarantee you they'll teach you how to use your core and engage everything a lot better to hit harder out of the park.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, James. That was good. I hope you guys took something from that podcast. Like I said, work on your mobility first. Look at your ankles, your hips, your T-spine, your shoulders. Breathing. We will talk about that more in another podcast. And then try out the test: the 2-minute plank test, 2-minute glute test, and the 60-second hang test. Have you got the basic strength? If the answer's no to any of those, that's your first port of call.
Exactly. And then, like I said, I appreciate on a podcast it's hard to discuss things, and because it needs to be more visual. And I think when we start developing, when the summer comes now, we'll start doing more videos on our YouTube channel to get across these ideas and show you guys more. So we are aware of the limitations of podcasting. However, there is some cool stuff that we're trying to develop and share out with you guys. So you can literally, I'd love it if you can start doing this stuff. And I'm seeing videos sent to me of people hitting the ball out of the park. Ideally, not off my own bowling would be fantastic.
They'll put you to shame.
Exactly.
If people want to find out more about us or read our blog or get the High Performance Handbook for Cricketers, where can they go?
cricketmatters.com, please. Let you go there, read the blog. There's so much stuff here. Podcast, blog, so much free material. Download the book. That's our system. I think that's a good way to put it, and a good way to get an idea of what we do. And then we send out some good stuff to go with it. So please check it out. And also, really pretty pleased with cherries on top. Give us a review. Give us a subscription on Apple and Spotify. It does make a big difference. It allows us to reach more people, and it encourages us to put more content out there.
Exactly, and thank you to the people who have reviewed us so far. It is greatly appreciated. Thank you very much, James. Thank you guys for listening. Until next time.